Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons.
And I'm Mason Rothman.
This is another episode of Late Night Geo. Mason isn't usually on with Late Night Geo, but Late Night Geo is usually when we invite, I put an open mic night, so to speak, out there for anybody who wants to join the show. But we have Mason on with us this round. He might show up for a lot more. We might bring on a third guest at some point down the future and just do it that way. But first of all, I want to get out of the way. We had a successful Geography 2050 week. And that was... That event is by the American Geographical Society. That happened, I want to say, man, I'm losing track of time, 2 or 3 weeks now. That was an immense project, highly successful, and there's tons of great content around the future of the world oceans. So
lots of work too, tons of video edits, etc.
So Project Geospatial was partnered with AGS and to kick off such a successful show. And I'm glad for everybody's support. And if you haven't checked it out, go to geography2050.org and you can go check out the videos that still exist. We're going to be playing a lot of that content on repeat over the next couple weeks. Perhaps a good through the holidays type of thing if you want something to watch. So once again, thank you all for helping support the American Geographical Society and even Project Geospatial as we're helping them out host that event virtually for the first time in their event history for this type of thing.
So speaking of things to watch or listen to, how many minutes are we up to here for Project Geospatial for the year?
Well, hold on. I should clarify. So we released a tweet a couple days ago.
At all.
No, it's not even working.
It's going to be too bright, yeah.
No. So you can go to... Yeah, look, we're disappearing like crazy now. We released a tweet about how many minutes we did, and this is only tracked by Spotify, by the way. We're actually on 10 or 12 different audio podcasting platforms, but Spotify tracked our statistics, and we have 3,000 minutes of content within our audio series, which is a lot of them is just the audio ripped from our video content that I think it makes more sense to listen to the audio, not just the visual as well. So anybody can listen through Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc. And we got 3,000 minutes of content. Beyond that, though, 20 people from 28 different countries have listened to our series since we started our audio podcasting a year ago, and we've been on audio podcasting literally just a year ago because we also just used to do video only.
That's right.
YouTube
it started as video, and that's interesting though how the international audience is growing and how geospatial work is growing over time. It really is.
Yeah, so we have 95 episodes in audio format. However, with that said, we have hundreds of episodes in video. So you can go to youtube.com/Project Geospatial, or you can go check out projectgeospatial.com and check out all of our content there. But if you feel like going on a long walk, listening to us in the office, or just putting us on in the background, we are available on audio too. And we thank everybody for your support. I was awesome to find out that tidbit a couple days ago on how popular we were on the audio platform.
It's always neat to look at all of, whether it's social media, etc., to look at the statistics and do the analysis on that and see how you have growth or maybe even a decline in what you did during that growth period, etc.
Yeah, no, and maybe one of these late night geos, I'll go over some of our stats, which I know a lot of podcasters like to keep that close hold. But I don't mind being transparent about it at all. We've had a lot of support, especially over the last year, and amazing feedback come along the way. So maybe it'd be a good end of the year wrap up here in another couple weeks.
Yeah, that would be a good call actually, and just kind of do a 101 on statistics, etc., so people can look at it and see what growth looks like, and have an aim if they want to beat our growth, etc.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do we have next on the list for tonight, Mason?
Well, it started with an earthquake. I don't know any songs about that. I would sing something about an earthquake, but it started with an earthquake. So this was on, let's see what day this was on. So this was on the 1st, so just a couple days ago. But I was looking at a 6.4 magnitude earthquake that happened up just off the coast of east side of Russia. And I found this really interesting. I wish I could show you the image of it. But it's from Wikimapia, and you know whenever you use Wikimapia, as you zoom in, whatever platform you use it on, when you zoom in, it'll show you more and more outlines for boxes, etc. and or no, sorry, it'll show you box type shapes for outlines of properties, buildings, structures, etc. Well, this time it was out in the water, and there was an outline of an airplane. Actually, it was the whole outline of a giant airplane, and I clicked on it, and it said it was something in Russian and Cyrillic, so I couldn't read it. I just did the copy paste over into Google to translate. But I did see flight 007, and I kind of inside snickered to myself, 007 James Bond, haha. What is it? Did somebody sneak something in on Wikipedia? No, they didn't. It was Korean Airlines flight 007 from 1983 that I did the research on after this, and in my tweet I post out a couple of links to it as well. But at this time there was no GPS system. Well, the DoD and CIA, etc., had it since I think the late 70s when they started working on it, or early 70s started working on it. But they didn't have there was no public type of GPS system until this incident happened, because the Russians thought it was one of our spy, and they say in the links here, Massent planes that we were collecting at the time, and we would do something.
So Massent stands for?
I have no idea.
Measurement and Signals Intelligence.
Yeah, we've worked with Massent over the years too, actually, and it slides right into the geospatial world. You'll see it in a lot of the products actually that folks put out. So anyhow, the Russians, and this was in '83, they were talking about Massent collection actually too, and that's something. But I want to say DIA had responsibility for it back then too. There's airborne platforms as well. But this one was off the coast of Russia. Like I said, I clicked on it and did more research and found out what it was. Well, it was in 1983 that Ronald Reagan, our president, released the GPS system and the GPS satellites for the open public to use at that point. So now all airplanes couldn't have a mistake, so to speak, because they were doing it by some crude systems back then, and a lot of maps. Luckily they weren't hand-drawn maps, but you know what I mean. They were pretty crude systems they were using back then. So this Korean Airlines flight flew in, 007 flew into Russian airspace. They shot it down and everybody died on board. And in response, Ronald Reagan declassified the fact that we had GPS satellites, and now everybody uses them. And there was some recent talk about the follow-ons to GPS satellite too. So that'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, because a lot of people have been talking about there are GPS alternatives out there. A lot of foreign providers provide GPS alternatives, right?
Sure, the Chinese are putting up their own constellation. In fact, the former director of NGA, Robert Cardillo, posted out on LinkedIn the other day about the new generations of the GPS that we're working on.
And there are several. The Europeans have one. The Russians have one that are highly active right now.
Yeah.
But there's also been talk about a U.S. alternative as well, having in recent news I've been reading.
And that was in the link that Mr. Cardillo shared out about. But they were actually saying in the article that we don't just need one; we need multiple of these systems, of course, because that's the U.S. government way.
Now, can you imagine an alternative system that isn't satellite based? What would that look like? Would that be on the moon? I mean, or would it be?
No, that'd still be a satellite because the moon's a satellite.
You're right.
But
that is.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to think of what would be a good robust alternative from a satellite based GPS system, or would that even be a thing?
And you're asking if from a satellite point of view, what we could
or something alternative to a satellite. What did we do before that to keep track of these things?
Right.
These are not questions I don't know the answers to, but I want to get people thinking about them. Why is having a satellite, or why is having an alternative to GPS so important? Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do, so to speak, have them with our cell phone towers, etc. Right. So that's the ground-based side of it. Whenever satellite's not available, and a lot of companies have been doing this forever, Foursquare, etc. When it comes to your GPS location, and then you do your triangulation of your cell phone towers, etc., to get a rough geo on where somebody's at, right?
Well, it's an aging system right now, although they do have constant replacements up.
No, you got me thinking on it. Like, how could we do something from not just a satellite point of view? I was thinking on a ground point of view too, but I'm coming up with nothing right now. I mean, I'm trying to think you threw one out there.
I threw them out there. That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
Yeah. But the amount of CubeSats that are launching, it's insane anymore. Which you can put up there, and how small, all all of our electronic components that we put inside the satellites these days. You can put almost anything in and launch it up these days. So Constellation, look at what Elon's doing. By the way, the second richest man in the world now. But yeah, look what Elon's doing with all of his CubeLink, or with Starlink, the satellite constellation.
Didn't he just bump Bill Gates? Is that what I read?
Yeah, he bumped Bill Gates.
Because that used to be competition between Bill Gates
Yeah.
and Amazon.
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, right?
Isn't it? And it's interesting too. The two richest men now own space companies, right? With Blue Origin, or with Jeff Bezos, and then with SpaceX. With I'm wearing his shirt actually.
Elon Musk.
With Elon, right?
So moving on to our next tab, but I was reading through our notes here, and we have an interesting one by Spire Global. You
Yeah,
wanna talk about that.
That was today.
That was
actually
in Reddit, and I love this Reddit thread. By the way, its data is beautiful.
That's one of my favorite subreddits. I go to it often, and so I saw it this morning, actually, and I posted out about it at 10:23 this morning. And at that point, there were 350 plus comments. And it's hard to get to the top of that subreddit because there's so many hundreds of thousands of people that use it and look at it and subscribe to it. But Anton Mizinov pulled it off. And I tagged him in the post, etc. But this is with Spire Global's satellite tracking for AIS beacons that are aboard all ships. It's by law. It's supposed to be. Now some drug smugglers, etc. will work around that. They don't exactly comply by the laws, and so to speak, they'll pull the plug. There's some other technologies now from the satellite side, like Unseen Labs, etc., where we'll be able to look at those. But but on this post, Anton kept it pretty simple too, and it's just one layer, how I talk about layers all the time. But it's every ship in the world from, I want to say it was August 2019, but it's a snapshot of just what every ship in the world where it's
and
at.
we'll try to post these links in the episode notes, by the way,
Sure.
so folks can check this out. And I love this Reddit thread because you can have one data layer, but it's not always what that data layer is. It's how you present it that could resonate with people the most.
Yeah.
And data is beautiful. That thread really highlights that. Just as Mason's talking about the ships all around the globe here, I've seen dozens of, if not hundreds of maps over the years related to ship trafficking, but the ones that stand out to me the most are the people who just make some of the analytic aspects or the trends stand out in the data.
They have the eye for it.
Well, yeah, just through the beauty of the map.
Yeah, you're right. They have that almost Steve Jobs beauty eye, right? Make it look pretty, so to speak.
Exactly, not just...
And we need that.
Yeah, we do. We do. It matters because it helps us see the point a lot more clearly and try to... If we have to take time to constantly interpret the map because it gets lost in these colors or contrasting layers, it gets confusing.
And just the pure amount of products that are out there, like the 30-day map challenge, a lot of the tweets that I liked were the eye-catching ones, the ones that would get you funding, so to speak.
So we covered this last year, Project Geospatial. So this is turning into an every year thing with hashtag 30-day map challenge. You can check it out on Twitter, but it's also kind of resonated in under social mediums now, such as LinkedIn. And Facebook, but you can check out hashtag 30-day map challenge on Twitter. And
they just
check
brought
out
the URL today, actually. I want to say his name, I forget what his name is, but the guy that runs the 30-day map challenge, he said, today I found a good URL, and it's quite literally 30. Oh,
I should have grabbed that while I was
30daymapchallenge.com. He tweeted out about it today, so you can go to that website now.
They should just aggregate that by year and the month. And it happens this year. It happened to the month of November, but I feel like it happened on a different month last time. I can't recall.
Just all I know is there are some real beauties in there, and it's quite competitive too. Actually, you see, well, first of all, it's competitive against people, against yourself, trying to do a map every day for 30 days. That's pretty hardcore.
And I have to go back to the history because there's last year I tracked who actually started this thread, and what happened, they'll put out each day what the theme is. It could be the color blue, and then it could be anything. Any map generated around that color. Maybe it's the data that's blue.
Right.
Maybe it's related to blue whales.
Right.
You don't know, but it's related to that word blue. Or the next state could be something else.
Elevation,
exactly,
or LiDAR, or all kinds of things they throw out there. So they keep it interesting. It's especially for GIS mapping type folks, et cetera. Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see the products and what people are making out there or can make, because this is also the majority of these folks have jobs too, right? So this is stuff they're making in their free time, et cetera. So yeah, that's awesome.
But I love shopping around for what data people are using as being
without a doubt.
As being a data collector myself, but also unique ways people are presenting that data. So once again, just like data is beautiful,
Right.
the 30-day map challenges, people are presenting their projects to the world. And
but it gets
in the
our
best
minds.
way-
It gets our
best way
minds
that looks
ticking,
good.
right? It gets our minds ticking. What other layers? How can we add this to a project or whatever other data that we have? So, yeah, that's another great reason to have it. Actually, the 30-day map challenge. Yeah, without a doubt.
Well, we have a couple more things on the list, do we not?
Yeah, let's see here. Let's do that Chrome thing real quick. But that was huge from today because they're up to, like I said, they had 350 something comments. They're up to over 850 comments now and up over 27,000 upvotes. That's insane to get those numbers. Like I said, they're number one on there for the day. And that's after 14 hours, by the way, too, folks. Oh, so another big one this week was the landing of the Chinese moon lander that landed, collected a sample, and now is actually on its way back. But it's the Chang'e 5 lander. And so, like I said earlier this week, let's see what day of the week it was, December 1st. So I think that was on Monday. But yeah, it landed, it collected the sample, and then launched again, is on its way back. So a lot of the amateur satellite collectors that I follow and I'm always inspired by, they've caught imagery data feeds off of it whenever it was on its way to the moon. They caught the live camera feed. It's unencrypted. They caught the live camera feed off of, this is a civilian person in their yard with a dish, so to speak. But they collected the live video feed, and you could see the solar panel on the satellite reflecting the sun off of it. But just amazing what you can do with commercial assets as well. So, but yeah, so that's how I'm keeping track of the Chang'e 5 launcher. And then some news makes it out occasionally out of China as well from the OSINT side. So, yeah, more and more data to keep an eye on the interesting things that the Chinese are doing as well. So, yeah. And they landed on the same day that they launched the Chang 3 back in the day. And I think in the late 90s, early 2000s. Can't recall off the top of my head. But yeah, so that was the other big news of the week, is because landing on the moon is something kind of epic, right? It's but now it's, I don't know, becoming commonplace, or is it... at this point, the Chinese have, I think, 5 total satellites that
it's becoming becoming a new race around it, and I don't think, and this is just a prediction. I have a feeling that it's not going to stay in international territory at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
you talk about the jokes related to the show Space Force. I'm sure it's going to be just like that at some point.
Yeah, it's almost like this is like part 2 of battling for the international waters up north with Russia, in the far, like, it's too cold to battle up there, like, who really wants the rights to that sea?
And that's really going to push people back to the moon just to do what they did with Antarctica, really.
Right.
The only way to keep it international is to, balance out the claims with pushing people like everybody else.
Yeah, like I said, and I think it was in a tweet I read the other day from Geo, but he pointed out that they have 4, and this was going to be the 5th with the lander. Now it took off, so they're back to 4 now. But satellites in orbit around the moon or on the moon, they have another unit as well. So the Chinese are all about the moon these days, right? So NASA's taking notice of this, and we're launching some things next year and the years following as well. So yeah, it's interesting how much focus they have, and from analyzing the soil to see, if it's potential that we could grow things there, et cetera. See.
And there's been talk about replacing, what's the name of the telescope in, is it Puerto Rico that just collapsed?
Oh, yeah. I tweeted out about that earlier in the week, too, because that was on GoldenEye.
There's all been talk, was like, why don't we put the news telescope in one of the craters up on the moon and look out from there instead?
That there could be some advantages to that. It's just going to have to be a cost efficiency thing at the end of the day. So, But that was another thing I read about the other day with NASA. Is one of their strategies to increase launches coming up here is partnering with commercial companies that are launching, their commercial satellites on board. So it could be ironically on one of Elon Musk's rockets from SpaceX, and doing his Starlink satellites, half of it, and then the other half is government owned, so to speak. So they're trying to find cost saving ways, NASA is, to launch satellites. So, yeah.
Well, with that said, I want once again we're getting back into the swing of things after Geography 2050. That was an awesome event, but also it took up a lot of our resources, and we're kind of getting back to swing of things, putting things back, put a schedule back in place. As once again, the holidays are going to be about showcasing what everybody missed. So we're playing a lot of Geography 2050 videos, but we're also going to be lining up a lot more guest speakers for the show, for Project Geospatial, in a lot of different mediums, seeing different company products, different services, but also interviewing experts that are working on some cool research projects.
And we have a couple folks lined up right now, actually. So
Yeah.
this is really good news.
So so look for our schedule coming up. If you want to be on Late Night Geo, you can message us anytime on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Reach out to us. We'd be happy to have you on. You can even message us the same night if you want.
Yeah, and you're typing the Twitch channel, whatever. It's up to you.
Twitch is great for while we're live. What most people don't realize is we can't see the record of the chat. So I have to work on if there's a way to get a record of it. So if you message us expecting us to see it, there's a chance we might not yet see it. So I prefer you guys email us or send us through YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, or through the website. So I think, do we have anything else to say?
I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's been a very eventful week, though, to be honest with you. So.
Yeah, we'll start doing more news sessions and once again get back on the schedule.
And more
it'll
launches
be an awesome
as well.
New Year. Well, we're gonna have to work out some logistics about the launches.
Yeah, we've got an NRO bird launching, I think, in 2 or 3 days. Yeah.
But the launch parties we attempted were a blast.
Oh yeah, so far. Yeah, we'll resume those real soon.
With that said, I'm Adam Simmons.
And I'm Mason Rothman.
Thanks for tuning in to Late Night Geo. We'll see you next week, and we'll try to keep this consistent for every Friday.